Acquitted 2 weeks ago, Renee Sherman may face a judge again if the Crown has its way.
Also ahead, police shoot a suspect as a sting operation turns violent.
And the airport union says it wants to get on board with privatization talks. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us.
Topping the news tonight, after a lengthy murder trial characterized by a series of legal challenges, a judge ordered the jury to acquit Renee Sherman, but 2 weeks later, the prosecution is challenging that. Even before the trial was over, Sherman and her co-accused, Cordero Bethel, walked freely out of court, leaving Ginaldo Farrington to fight charges linked to the murder of Stephen Sherman, which he was ultimately convicted of.
Fern Carey tells us tonight what the prosecution is preparing to submit in the appeal phase of the case.
Almost 2 weeks after 43-year-old Renee Sherman was acquitted of conspiracy to commit murder and abetment to commit murder in connection with the death of her husband, banker Stephen Sherman, the Attorney General's office has now filed an appeal challenging that decision in a bid to have it overturned. Sherman's attorney Muriel DeSille told ZNS News Today that they received notice a few days ago of the Crown's intention to appeal that decision. You may recall that Sherman was accused of conspiring with Cordero Bethel and Ginaldo Farrington to kill her husband Stephen back in February of last year. The 43-year-old mother was also facing a separate charge of aiding and abetting in the crime. Sherman's co-accused, 22-year-old Cordero Bethel and 22-year-old Ginaldo Farrington, were also accused of killing and robbing the banker and a female relative. However, following a trial within a trial, Justice Roy Jones directed jurors to acquit Renee and Bethel of all charges. But Crown prosecutors were allowed to press their case against Farrington, and he was found guilty of all charges by a jury. Meantime, the Crown's decision to appeal the acquittal of Sherman and Bethel on the ground that the judge erred is not sitting well with attorney Muriel DeSille. He questioned how the Crown is able to appeal the judge's findings of fact, which he said are, quote, reasonably based on substantial evidence. DeSille also noted that the Crown has the burden of proof to establish their case, which he said they have not done. Now we called the Attorney General's office for comment. However, a senior official would only confirm that the appeal was filed. Meantime, a date has not yet been set for the appeal hearing. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Convicted murderers Stephen Dye Stubbs, Clinton Evans, and Andrew Davis are expected to be sentenced Wednesday for killing police constable Jimmy Ambrose back in 1999. The trio was convicted 3 months ago of the crime. Jurors also found Clinton Evans guilty of having a firearm with the intent of putting 2 other police officers in fear. Prosecutors have indicated that they'll be seeking the death penalty for all 3 men. Former 8 Mile Rock High School teacher Andre Berbal has lost his bid to have his unlawful sex trial put on hold after Justice Roy Jones ruled that if it is possible to hold a fair trial. The 50-year-old Trinidadian filed a constitutional motion claiming that his rights were breached and he was not likely to get a fair trial. He also claimed, among other things, that there was an unreasonable delay and that the adverse pretrial publicity would prejudice the proceedings. But today, Justice Jones ruled against him and noted that the trial will proceed as scheduled, which is incidentally tomorrow when jury selection is set to begin.
A suspect is hospitalized tonight after he was shot by police. When our news team arrived on the scene at Graham Drive in the Yellow Elder Gardens area this afternoon, a number of uniformed police officers were processing the scene. We're told it was after 2 p.m. when officers were conducting an operation in the area, spotted 2 men acting suspiciously. According to Assistant Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson, when officers attempted to approach the men, they fled in different directions and a chase ensued.
One of the young men, as he was running produced a handgun, which he pointed in the direction of the officers who were pursuing him. There was an exchange of gunfire. One of the young men was shot. He has received injuries to the body and was taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital for medical attention. A second subject was arrested. He is in police custody.
An open lot was taped off where it's believed the suspect had been shot. His condition was unknown at the time. However, police say he appeared to be conscious when paramedics arrived. ACP Ferguson would not disclose the nature of the investigations.
I just want to say that we applaud members of the public who continue to provide information to the police that would assist us in getting all of these illegal firearms off the streets.
A 31-year-old man is expected to be charged before a magistrate this week in connection with the death of his 72-year-old grandmother. Police say the victim, identified as Vivian Johnson, was found dead at her home on Greenway Drive off Mermaid Boulevard, Golden Gates, on Saturday night. She had been stabbed multiple times. The 31-year-old suspect was taken into custody a short time later.
In our first look at weather, that mid-level trough and the surface trough are both in the southeast Bahamas. It is creating some unsettled conditions down there, but outside of our studios just now, we have partly cloudy skies. Your temperature just around 81 degrees, relative humidity 69%. Your winds out of the east at 8 knots. Your barometric pressure 1,011.3 millibars. That's 29.86 inches, and it is falling. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Farming Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, still to come tonight, they don't just fly here. They want to be part of privatization talks, what the airport union is saying about the proposal.
And are things stabilizing between Sky Bahamas and its pilots after a bumpy weekend? Find out coming up.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.